All right, welcome to episode, I believe this is episode 20 with the devlogs now. As a quick recap as what we've done last time. So we incorporated a quick increase max radius inside paddle. We've got just a increase max. We got a quick method that I wrote called increase max radius. This will be for the power up hittable. And I'm just testing out this power up hittable if I'm able to actually manipulate stuff in the game if once this power up hittable is destroyed. So I quickly wrote that inside the power up hittable, which is derived from the generic hittable. I've got on destroy call increase paddle radius, give it the increase amount, and then inside my status effect manager node, I'm applying a timed effect, giving it the increase amount for the what to apply, and then giving it the increase amount what to revert, but just negating it, and then power up duration seconds, which is set to, I believe, 15 seconds. And then that moves us on to the other thing that I added, which was, it should be here, status effect manager. There we go, right here. I made a node called status effect manager. That's gonna be a persistent node. The reason why I had to do that was because my power-ups and hazards and progress hittables, they're all gonna be spawned in and destroyed, and I need a way in. I need like something that's gonna be persistent, which is going to be able to apply certain effects and hazards and whatnot for a certain amount of time, even whilst those are destroyed. So before all I had was the power-up hittable, and I was calling increase max radius and trying to revert it, but it wasn't reverting because, well, the object is destroyed now. It doesn't exist, so it couldn't revert. So I needed a persistent node, which I've called status effect manager. And inside here, I've got a method called apply timed effect. So it takes in a method to apply, it takes in a method to revert, and then it takes in a duration. So it applies it, waits however long, 15 seconds in this case, and then reverts it. And yeah, so that's what I've done so far. So if we build and run, okay, my controller's not working. 2 seconds. Okay, there we go, it's working now. So let's build, run, and then you'll be able to see, obviously, inside which script was this in? Yeah, so inside my hittable spawner, I'm just spawning in a hittable. I'm spawning in 3 hittables, which is the generic version, but that should be progress hittables. Then I'm spawning in the power up and hazard, and that's what we're getting here. We have the 3 hittables, the power up, and the hazard. So the 3 hittables and the hazard they don't do anything for now because I've not coded it to do anything. But what we're focusing on is the power up. So once I hit this and hit and destroy the power up, once I hit and destroy the power up, the paddle size should increase by about 100, I believe I say it to. Then after 15 seconds, it should revert. So let's try that now. So if you go here, try to hit this power up. If I can, there we go. Paddles increased. I can continue playing. Let's do a super shot. Super shot works. So yeah, it works. And then after 15 seconds, it should revert, hopefully. There we go. You can see now it's reverted back to its previous level. In terms of next steps, well, I've set out a couple of things. Firstly, and this was on purpose, obviously, because I just wanted to patch this together and see if I can get it working, which it does. Now I want to do it properly where, okay, this is frozen now. There we go. Now I want to do it properly where I have I want to go into paddle and configure it properly where, because right now I'm directly manipulating the max radius, which to me is a bit too dangerous. I want to keep the max radius as the default, and then if I'm going to be applying any sort of effects to the paddle, I want it to be a variable that's added on top of that instead of directly manipulating that. And then just to make it safer and work more properly. So I want to reconfigure my paddle. I also perhaps derive, so instead of having this front inside the parent power up hittable, have the derived dedicated hittable power up hittable for increasing max radius. So in order to explain this, so we've got our hittable, which is all hittables are derived from this. We got the progress, sorry about my writing, we've got the hazard, and then we've got here also derived from the hittable, we've got power up, and then this power up is going to split up, have multiple derived stuffs for each different power up. So we could have paddle plus plus, increase the paddle size, game speed, speed minus minus, decrease the game speed so that it's easier to deal with, combo times 2, stuff like that basically. So maybe, so sort out my paddle so that it's doing it properly, able to apply the max radius properly or manipulate the radius properly. Then also, yeah, so then have my power up derive something for a specific paddle increase power up, have that, and then also other things which I included here, which are these. I don't know if I'm going to do it now, but definitely something I want to do soon. Make it so that consecutive shots slowly decrease the charge up time for the paddle, making it much quicker to hit the ball if the player manages to keep a combo going. So this is an idea that I came up with that I thought, oh, it actually might be a better idea to do something like this. Implement some sort of thing inside paddle where it takes, let's say, 5 seconds to charge the paddle from 0% to 10%, and you hit the ball. Then that time should decrease to about 4 seconds, let's say. So now, because you've hit the paddle and you've kept the combo going, now it's 4 seconds, it's quicker to charge to 100%. Hit the ball again, goes to 3 seconds, goes to hit the ball again, goes to 2 seconds, hit the ball again, goes to 1 second. So that's not going to be the final value, but you know, you get the idea. The more you keep the combo going, the quicker you can charge the paddle instantly. That keeps like some sort of momentum and keeps the game going quickly, basically. Another idea that I thought about was maybe make it so that the ball speed slash velocity goes up with each bounce. I'm not sure about this. This is just an idea I came up with. I don't think I'm going to do this. But the idea was if you hit the ball and it bounces off the wall, maybe instead of the normal calculated velocity I would do for that bounce against the wall, maybe increase the speed, and then if it bounces again, increase the speed again. That way, if you bounce the ball, it slowly just gets faster. And I like the idea that maybe these two actually go hand in hand in tandem. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to do that, but I definitely at some point, whether that be now or later on in the devlog, implement something like making the charge speed quicker. But yeah, that's for later. For now, I'm going to go through my paddle script, see if I can actually manipulate the paddle size in a much safer way, and then perhaps make a derived class, make a derived scene for the specific paddle increase power up. So I'm going to do that now. All right, so that was a lot. Basically, I've just done massive surgery on my paddle script because I realized a couple of things. First and foremost, I did manage to fix the radius, right? So the whole point why I was going into it was because I was directly affecting the max radius, right? I was directly, so before max radius was, where is it? Anyways, I've changed max radius to default radius. That's the radius that the game starts in. So we've got that. So now I've just set max radius to the default radius and whatever the radius modifier is. Anytime I'm modifying the radius, I'm going to be like manipulating this value here. So max radius is now the default plus the radius modifier, and then total radius is max radius plus buffer. And then I realized if I make max radius just a computed property, and just change what my old max radius was to default radius, then I'd be able to just leave my script. But that's not all. I actually did that second. The first thing I did was I had to do major surgery on my entire handle strike method. So when I first started, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know how, it's my first time doing game development and figuring out Godot and whatnot, and I was um, just following tutorials and AI, like asking AI how would I architect something like this and how would I make things work. So before, if you recall in the earlier devlogs, my idea was to actually use physics, the built-in physics to have like some sort of paddle. Let me draw this out actually, it'd be better. So before, if you remember, I had some sort of like, I had the pivot rotator here, I had the wedge here, and then I had like some sort of paddle here, right? An actual object there. So when the ball comes down and this is charged, I release this, it goes upwards, and then it makes contact with the ball using the physics engine, and then the physics engine sorts that out. And then later on, I realized I pivoted, pun intended, to actually just calculating all of this by myself and with it, detecting a ball hit within the wedge myself instead of relying on physics, because there were points where my paddle was moving so fast forward and the ball was moving so fast back that there was actually no point in having the physics engines try to figure this out at runtime. So I pivoted. However, a lot of how I was calculating charge was still using this over here. It was a value called current radius, right? I had a runtime value called current radius, which was basically this, except I just disabled it, or it wasn't attached to an actual physics object. But I was still calculating um, charge using current radius throughout my entire code, and then using that and then converting that into a percentage and negating it so that it's the right way, and comparing that to whatever the max radius was, which was, if max radius was here, right, then I'm comparing, okay, current radius, where is current radius compared to max radius? And that was, I realized I had to do major surgery because it's still like the backbone of my paddle and how it's working is all reliant on this current radius, which was only there because I was initially going to do physics. I was initially going to do strikes using physics, and of course now I'm not using physics. I'm just calculating it. Okay, once the player releases, where's the ball? If the ball's here, all right, is it within the wedge? If it's within the wedge, how far is it compared to the pivot, and what direction away is it from the pivot? So I had to go through my code and just get rid of all of that. So before I had this handle strike, I hate it when my IDE does that. Before I had this my handle strike, which is happening each frame, I believe. Yeah, so inside my physics process, which happens each frame, I handle horizontal movement, handle aim. That's all fine. That works. Doesn't need current radius. But then I got handle strike, right? So we got handle strike, and my old handle strike was as before, and as you can see, switch, checking what the strike state is. If it's ready, is the current radius less than max radius? And then lerp it, and then we do a clamp, I believe. No, we set it back to max if it's like if they released it. We got winding, checking if trigger depth is less than or equal to whatever, and if current radius is less than max radius time. Do you know what I mean? Like it's all current radius is woven into the very DNA of what paddle is. So I was like, oh crap, okay, I need to actually redo all of this and need to be surgical about it. So we can get rid of. Oh, this was only I only put this here so I didn't have to scroll all the way up to remember the relevant variable names. So don't worry about this. So I got a new handle strike. Taking in the trigger depth. This is how it works now. Taking in the trigger depth, which is a value between either 0.0 or 1.0. That's fine. I'm no longer doing where if you hold the trigger midway, it will stay at 50% or whatever. I'm just doing if they pull the trigger, if it's beyond the trigger threshold, then that's the player charging. Because I realize I don't think there's ever going to be a situation where a player only wants to do like 50% or whatever. You're always going to pull it down anyways. So where you got trigger depth, we're taking in that trigger depth every frame and then checking what's the strike state, right? So if we are currently the strike state is currently ready, that means we're not whatever. So we're checking. So basically, we know that all right, current charge should be at 0. So if it's above 0, meaning if you winded and you released and it's like below the how I've got it set up, a strike only counts as a strike if your charge is at 30% or higher, right? I really want you to be deliberate with your strike. So if it's less than 30% but above 0, then it goes to ready, and then what this is doing is just set current charge minus equal mathf dot pow current charge 0.5f return speed. Return speed is how quickly I want the charge to go back basically. And this is an easing curve, so it starts off slow and it finishes off fast. It's the opposite of lerp, I believe, which is starts off fast and finishes slow. So basically, easing going back to 0, and then if current charge is less than 0, which will happen because we're minusing, then set current charge equals 0, and then that's that. Whenever we're ready, the current charge will eventually or initially be at 0. All right, so if we're at ready and the player presses down the trigger, take that trigger depth and check, is it greater than or equal to the trigger dead zone, which is 0.1, I believe. I've set it to. So meaning if they've pressed it down to trigger a charge, then change the state to winding. All right, that's good. Now if it's winding, now we check, okay, there's multiple things to check while we're winding. All right, are they still holding down the trigger? If they are still holding down the trigger, then current charge plus equals delta divided by charge speed. So this way, the way it's working out now is I set the charge speed to, let's say, 3, whatever value I want. And that 3 value means from 0 to 100, it should take 3 seconds. So I can set it to like 5 or 10 or whatever. And I can manipulate this in other scripts as well by manipulating the charge speed, which makes it easier to like tune actually. But yeah, so essentially what we're doing is increase the current charge at the charge speed rate. And then clamp means clamp, don't let it go below or above 1, because current charge is just a percentage, right? And we know that inside here, percentages are floats between 0 and 1. So that's if they're holding down the trigger. This is going to be a long explanation. If they've released the trigger, there's multiple things to check. Again, so check, okay, have they gone beyond that threshold or not? So if they haven't gone beyond the threshold, which is, I believe, 0.3, then just go back to ready, right? So it could be at 0.25, and obviously that's not beyond the threshold that you need to count as a strike. So it goes back to ready, and that's why we've got that here if charge is above 0, because in those cases you want it to always go back to 0. It should only ever instantly go back to 0 after a strike, basically. So that's if it's too low. What if it's not too low for... What if we are beyond the trigger is it dead zone? Oh no, sorry. What if we are beyond the minimum strike charge fraction, which is the old name, but I should rename it, but I'm not gonna. Basically the threshold for minimum strike. If we are, then just set the strike state to striking, and that's it. So now in striking, I've, pulled out all the calculations into a separate method. But once we're striking, okay, we've got enough charge for a strike, do the strike, set the current charge to 0, and strike state equals ready. So that way, if it's not a strike, it slowly goes back to 0. If it is a strike, boom, go back to 0, whatever. But before then, do the strike, because we need to calculate all of that before we change the current charge to 0. All of this current charge stuff is replacing stuff like, before I had current radius and stuff like that. So do strike, what's do strike doing? So I got a new method called get current charge, which just returns current charge. Simple. That's for this script here, and that's for other script because it's public, so that they can get the current charge as well. So do strike, what's that doing? That's my old striking thing I had before. If we go back to my old method, handle strike, inside winding, I was handling all of the strike logic and stuff. I've just exported this here and then tweaked it quite a lot. So the logic is sound, except anytime I was using current radius, I needed to swap that out for current charge. So calc strike direction, that didn't need current radius or current charge, so I left that. Calc strike power did. So if you go here, calc strike power, this was fine, but I was calculating charge bonus, which was here, which was doing calculate charge percentage, which I didn't need anymore over here because that was using current radius, so get rid of that and just times max charge bonus by current charge. So I had to like go down the line for that. Then we got strike info equals get strike info, which I believe was also using calc charge percentage, which was using the current radius. So got rid of that and just plugged in get current charge for that. And then bool store strike info, that's fine. We got bool apply strike, that's fine. And then emit shot or bool hit, that should be fine as well. Let's double check that. Yeah, so that's fine as well. So yeah, I had to go do surgery. Oh my god, it was so mind-numbing to do that. But anyways, I'm going to show you what it looks like now for the currently it's Netherlands versus Japan. So let's try to do that before it starts. Let me show you what I got. Let's build. Let's set this to paddle. So paddle, I got all of these stuff. Let's run. And now you can see if it's like, I believe I set it to 0.3, so as long as it's below 30%, it will slowly go back basically. It will never count as a strike. Only above 30%, if I release now, boom, goes straight back to 0. So it's not actually like, before I was doing current radius, you know, increase it by 10,000 or whatever to try and make it seem like it was going fast. Oh, and I also had to hook up my other scripts as well. So if you, I had to open up Game Manager, make sure I didn't break anything inside there. I had to open up board, make sure I didn't break anything here. Make sure I was correctly pulling in the current charge for the super shots, which was being dealt by Game Manager. HUD, I had to, before I was doing calc charge percentage, I had to get rid of that and do get current charge. Status effects is fine. Hittables is fine. Power up hittable. Now I'm doing modify radius, the increase amount, and then modify radius to revert it. Modify radius is 0 because modify radius is just tweaking this value here. Let me show you. Radius modifier, which is default plus radius modifier. So if I set it to 50, the max radius will now be, I think it's 200. Then I can't negate that. I have to just set it to 0. So setting this to 0 would return it back to the default. So that's how it works. And then let me show you it working now. So if I strike it, boom. So yeah, it works properly. And then let me try to hit this power up, which should increase the size for 15 seconds. 1, 2. Well, I don't have the clock, but you can see the radius is bigger. There we go. Everything's cleared. After 15 seconds, go back to the regular radius, and yeah. And the reason why I did that surgery is because, like I said before, even though I was working towards just trying to not directly manipulate the max radius value, before I did say that, where is it gone? Here, I wanted to make a small tweak where make it so that consecutive shots slowly increase the charge up time for paddle, making it much quicker. So consecutive hits with the ball, if your combo keeps going up, then slowly make that charge time quicker and quicker, so you get to 100% charge in like 0.5 seconds as opposed to taking 3 seconds here. But then I realized, oh, it's going to be really difficult to do that since I'm calculating charge using current radius. And although it was like there was a way to do it, and I could have probably done it. I did realize that I'm calculating all wrong, and it would actually be much better future proofing if I fix this now, even though it takes a lot more effort. So that in the future, if I want to manipulate the charge time, that all I have to do is tweak this variable here. Where's it gone? Inside paddle. Should be somewhere here. Charge speed. So when either I'll do it inside paddle or game manager for consecutive charge for my brain is fried. 4 consecutive shots. What I'm gonna do is just tweak that value now. So okay, if like you've hit 2 shots and 3 shots in a row, just slowly decrease that, and then 4 shots, 5 shots, slowly decrease the charge speed. So it makes it actually much easier. I just have to do that rather than just have a lot of weaving things going in and out for the current radius. So that was a lot of effort. I could end it here, but I feel like I can now, because it's all set up, implement that thing that I said. Make it so that consecutive shots slowly decrease the charge up time for the paddle, making it much quicker to hit the ball if the player manages to keep a combo going. That's going to be the next step. Should be easier now since I've got this since it's simply about modifying the charge speed, and I could just decrease that slowly over consecutive shots. So I'm going to try to do that, do it, and then explain how I did it, and then yeah, maybe clean up my code as well, because now my paddle is all messy. And then yeah, that will be the end of the devlog after I do that. But let me get on with doing that now. All right, so Japan just scored against Netherlands. But yeah, that's fixed now. That's sorted. I did try to do something with local combo count to try and fix floating point rounding errors, but it didn't work. So let me just get rid of that in front of you. So if I get rid of that, go here, get rid of that, go here, get rid of that, because I was really worried about these floating point problems here. Even though it's negligible, it doesn't really have any effect. I had to go to AI to ask for some sort of solution for that, and this is the solution they gave, but it didn't really do anything. So I just go back to my original, how I was doing it before. So yeah, now what happens is per consecutive shot, so long as the ball doesn't fall into the ball out zone and you don't lose a life, what happens is you gain the charge speed actually decreases. So I've got these values here. Default charge speed is 3. You got combo charge speed difference 0.2. That means whatever the speed is, if you hit another shot, then decrease it by 0.2, then hit another shot, decrease it by 0.2. Then we've got minimum charge speed. This is the absolute floor. We don't want to go beyond this because then it will go into negative or whatever. And I don't want it to be instantaneous, to be honest, but at that speed, it's pretty much instant. You've got current charge speed to track the current. And over here we're going current charge speed equals default, and we're taking in a reference of the ball out zone just so that we can hook up to ball lost. And on ball lost, what we're doing is reverting the current charge speed to the default. Then what we're doing, sorry, the Japan-Netherlands game is on, so apologies for being a bit distracted. So next what we're doing, if we search that current charge speed, yeah, change this to current charge speed. This is for, I believe, whilst we're winding. And then what we're doing is we've got a variable called decrease charge speed. Where is this? Oh yeah, so inside my do strike, once we've done all our striking stuff, by this point we know we've hit the ball now. Then we call decrease charge speed. And what we're doing is we're checking, okay, is the current charge speed greater than the minimum charge speed? Then make the current charge speed minus combo charge difference, so negate it by 0.2. And taking in the other value here is minimum charge speed, and then checking which one is the max. If it's minimum charge speed, so if we go below minimum charge speed, it will set it just to minimum charge speed basically. And yeah, so that will like clamp it down to the bottom and keep it at minimum. So in terms of gameplay, how it works, I'll show you quickly. So you can check down here whilst I play. You'll see it will constant on every hit it will show you what the current charge speed is, and once we max out, then it will tell you as well. So I won't be doing too much gameplay. I'll just try to stay still. Right now it's slow, and slowly consecutive hits, you can see that the charge on the right is actually getting faster and faster. Now it's at 2.2. Again, I don't know how to sort out those floating point errors. That's just when you do arithmetics with floating points, it just happens. And I know there's probably a roundabout way to like go around it, but it's too much for something that's simple. So now you can see it's pretty much instantaneous. We've hit the floor. You see there at the bottom it says maxed out. And now it's maxed out. Look how fast it's going. So when someone's playing, you could keep up the momentum and it feels like, okay, yeah. And I need to fix that bug as well from like ages ago. So yeah, if we like play properly, see how that feels. So feels pretty good, like feels like some type of reward. And we see that power up came into effect. So that we got like a big paddle now. And after 15 seconds, so at some point it should go down. Now it's gone down. Ooh, that was quick. But since I like put my combo up, it makes it easier to hit those quick ones. So yeah, like the game actually feels good. I'm trying to get this last one. Ooh, I actually really like this edition now. There we go. So yeah, that's how it's done. My paddle is still a mess, so I'm guessing tomorrow I'm just gonna clean up paddle, but I'm not gonna do it for now. In terms of a quick recap, we've managed to we still got our modify radius for our power up hittable. Still got that. Now we're implementing it properly. Now we're also implementing it properly inside of paddle where we're not manipulating the actual default core value. We're actually just adding on or if in the future we negate it, taking away whatever value from the actual default, so we don't actually ever touch the default, which is good. And I refactored and did complete surgery on my paddle script so that no longer are we tracking a made up current radius that for the charge, but now we're actually just doing it as a percentage, as a core percentage that's being saved whilst the trigger is being pressed, instead of this like area in the field which is just like invisible, obviously, which I'm just tracking through code. It's actually better just to store it as a core percentage by itself. So that being said and done, that's going to be the end of the devlog. Terms of next steps for tomorrow, the plan will be, well, the initial plan is going to be this paddle needs to be cleaned up because it was it was a horror surgery and I was just like typing things down and putting things wherever I need them. So that's the immediate next step. After that, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but I'll figure it out. So yeah, thanks for watching. It was a good day, really productive, and yeah, I like how it's getting along. So I'll see you guys later. Take care.